Now, the third ingredient, we call it player function. It's basically a function that tells us which player moves or summarizes which player moves at what point of the game. All right. So a player function basically maps every non-terminal history, H subtract Z, the set of terminal histories, into N union C, including the chance or nature. All right. Well, so nature is not really a player. All right. For example, in games with incomplete information, or any other games where there's some exogenous parameter included into game. Well, in the description we add it as a player, sort of. But of course, it's not going to choose any strategy. It's going to given to us. Right? So anyway, the player function maps every non-terminal history into this set N union C, which satisfies the following two properties. Well, PH equals I means after history H, it is player I who is supposed to make a move. All right. So again, right after H, player I is going to be moving. Well, therefore, player I's choice, what are the available actions for him or her to choose? Well, we describe it as A of H. And then B, if PH is equal to C, meaning chance is the player who's going to make a move, well then chance determines the action after history H, okay? That's it. Well, here it's very, very important. This is a function, meaning for every history there should be only one player, meaning this description does not work when the players, I'm sorry, it does work, but be careful. So if several players moving simultaneously at some part of the game, all right? For example, in period 1, player 1 moves. In period 2, what happens? Player 1 moves simultaneously, right? Sometimes we denote it as a matrix. Well, in this description, this is not how we are going to define the game, but we are going to define it as follows. Well, if player 2 and 3 are moving simultaneously after player 1's move, well, then we're going to say player 2 moves first, but player 3 cannot observe his or her actions, and so player 3 moves. All right, so this is how we are going to describe simultaneity in this part of the game. So therefore, for any history, after any history, there's going to be only one and only one player who is making a move. Obviously, we can describe games which doesn't sort of force us to open up all the simultaneous move games, sub games in this fashion. For example, Drew Fudenberg and Tirol textbook is describing extensive form games in that fashion, meaning they allow simultaneous move games without opening up them as in this fashion. But that's fine. This is what I'm going to stick. Okay, or what I'm going to use. Well, here is the side note. Well, given that we know how to define, when player or sort of describe when player I moves, when player J moves, thanks to the player function, which is a part of the extensive form game. Well, now I can say, what are the set of histories that belongs to player I, quote unquote? Well, what does that mean? That means, what are the histories of this game where player I makes a move right after that history? Well, it's denoted by H sub I. All right. So what is H sub I? Well, it's the set of histories where player I is going to make the move right after H. That's it. And so, by the way, I is just the player, or maybe nature. So maybe nature is making a move, all right, at some point. It doesn't have to be the initial point, but maybe after the game start, for example, they're going to learn something. For example, they're going to, if it is firm, the firms are competing in a chrono fashion, and all of a sudden they receive some exogenous shock, all right, some news. And so, for example, how do we model this? Well, at some point, nature is making a move. Okay? Well, we can also talk about all available actions for player I in the entire game. How so? Well, A sub I is the all available actions that player I can choose in the entire game, which is basically A sub H union over what? Over all the histories that belong to player I. All right, quote unquote belong to player I. All right, finally, what about the nature's move? Well, if the nature is making any move, or chance nature we use interchangeably, we're going to denote it by beta C, because we're going to later use this beta as part of some strategy, but later. So beta sub C is basically the chance's probability distribution. Remember, chance or nature is not a player, and in an extensive game, we assume that it is exogenously given to the analysis, the analyzer, to the players. So it's taken exogenously. So beta C is the probability distribution over the nature's actions. So for any history H, which belongs to the nature, all right, meaning right after this history H, nature is going to make a move. Well, we denote beta sub C dot slash H means after H, what is the probability that nature is going to choose an action? All right, instead of this dot, we call, so basically this BC is a probability distribution over the available actions right after H. So for example, BCAH, so A is just an action. So A is an action available after history H. So BCA slash H, or conditional on H, means, well, given the history H, what is the likelihood that the nature is going to be selecting action A? Or the yeah, okay, all right, so that's what it means. This is the last two ingredients of an extensive form game. Well, the fourth one is what we call information partition. Well, here we describe information sets. So an information partition is basically a set of all subsets of a set. All right, so let's take any set. All right, a random set A which has A, B, C as elements. So what is a partition of this set? Well, the partition is a subset of a set of subset of a set which includes subsets of A. All right. So, for example, one partition is of A is the following: A, B, C. All right. Meaning any two set. Well, the elements of this partition must be set. Right, first off, and no two sets or no two elements in this partition can have a non-empty intersection. For example, AB, BC. All right, so this is not a partition. Why? Well, because these two elements have a joint element from set A. All right, so partition is basically we describe a set by dividing it into pieces, but those pieces should be mutually exclusive. All right, they can't have a joint element. All right. Well, again, if you want to know more about partitions, please just Google it. I don't have any lecture video about it, but it's not a very complicated notion. So anyway, we talk about information partition, script I, of H/Z, meaning the set of all non-terminal histories. All right, so we're not worried about terminal histories because terminal histories means the game is over. But for the non-terminal histories, when the game is not yet over, well, then we divide them into a partition. Well, how do we do that? What is the property? Well, for any set of this partition, all right, so I is a set, meaning I has histories, probably more than one histories in it. So for any element of this partition. This element, we're going to call it later information set. And for any two history in that information set, HH prime, well, we must have the following. So that's very important. One, the player who is going to move right after history H and right after history H prime must be the same person. All right, so remember, an information set cannot belong to more than one person. It must belong to just one person. So therefore, if two histories end up into the same information set, well, that means at that information set, only one player is going to make a move. This is how we describe it. Well, second, the available actions after any two histories that are ending up at the same info set cannot be different. So if you, again, let's give an example. Player 1 is making a move, A, B, and then player 2 cannot distinguish. So this is her information set, and now she's going to make a move. Well, once again, so this is one history, this is another history, right? So this is like H, this is like H prime. So they are both in the same info set. So this is basically I, which is A comma B. All right, so whenever I have these two histories in the same info set, well, what is the player who is moving right after A or right after B? Well, it must be the same player, don't forget. All right, so if there's no info set, that means, well, these two players can be two different players, obviously, because that game means player who's moving here can actually observe the actions chosen previously. But if they are connected or in the same info set, that means player 2 cannot distinguish, cannot be aware of whether player 1 has selected A or B. Okay? Well, on what else? Well, the actions, the second part, the actions available here, if this is A, B, well, this can't be X, Y, all right? Why is that? Well, because if player 2 is capable of choosing 4 different actions in 2 different decision nodes, he can actually distinguish these 2 decision nodes, right? I mean, for example, here, player 2 knows that his available actions are either going to left or going to right, but in this decision node, his available actions are either going up or down. So if I tell this guy, now it's your choice to move, but you don't observe player 1's moves, okay, but player 2 is going to ask, what are my available actions? Well, you can go up or down. You can't go right or left. Well, then player 2 will infer that he is actually in this decision node. You see what I mean? So for that reason, the available actions at all decision nodes in the same info set must be the same. Again, remember, we talked about all this in our undergrad extensive form game descriptions. So this is how we formally describe it. That's it. This is what a player function is. Information partition is. Well, before going to the fifth one, let me say some side notes for the information sets. As I said, every I, which is element of this information partition, is called information set. An info set containing a history, H, is going to be denoted by I of H, all right? So remember, a history can be an element of only one info set. So one history cannot be element of 2 different information sets, because this is what information partition is. Remember, there can't be joint elements of 2 info sets. So therefore, if I want to call information set where H belongs to, I'm going to denote it by I of H. All right? It's not because I is a function, but it's just a notation. Well, the set of information sets of player I, which could be a player or nature itself, we denote it by script I, sub I. All right, so whatever belongs to player I, we use basically subscript I. Well, it's all the info sets such that after history in that set, basically player I moves. So this is how we denote it. Well, if the game has info sets, fine, just use the info sets rather than histories. If there is no info sets, meaning every decision node is singleton, well then we can treat every decision node as a singleton in information set. All right, so information set doesn't rule out single decision nodes. It's just a generalization of it. Well, so we nevertheless can write, if we want to, it's totally up to us whether there are info set or not, A of I instead of A of H. So what is A of I? The set of available actions after history information set I, or a set of available actions after history H. Well, of course, I can use AI instead of H if H is a history in this information set. Or instead of using PH, I can use PI, the player who is going to move after the information set H or after the history H, information set I, or after history H, which belongs to info set I. Or the probability distribution over the nature's probability distribution over available actions after history H. Well, we can denote it after information set I. Again, as long as H is an element of I. Okay? Well, and then the fifth and the last ingredient of an extensive form game is a von Neumann-Morgenstern utility function. So each player I, not the nature, because again, nature is not a player. Each player I must have a von Neumann-Morgenstern utility function denoted by small ui, which maps each, remember, this is a set of, oh boy, I sometimes forget things that I know. Terminal histories. So terminal histories are basically the histories which indicate that the game is over. So the player I has preferences over, well, once the game is over, well, the players are going to, well, some outcome will be realized, and this outcome is going to give, payoff utility to those players. And so we describe those preferences over outcomes or by a utility function over all possible terminal histories. All right, so the utility function maps each terminal history, meaning each outcome, into a real number. Positive, negative, doesn't matter. All right, so if an extensive form game has all those 5 ingredients, well, we call it an extensive form game.